Okay, we are recording.
Okay, good evening. I call this budget, what are we going to call it? Budget wrap-up meeting of March 2nd, 2021 to order at 6:04 p.m. Will the city clerk, oh, will you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, I think.
Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the city clerk please read the Public Opening Meeting Act?
Budget workshop meeting was called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. Notice of this meeting was published in the record on February 27, 2021. In addition, a copy of the notice was posted on the city's website, the bulletin board, and the municipal building, and filed in the office of the municipal clerk on aforementioned date. In accordance with New Jersey law regulating the holding of public meetings, specifically the Open Public Meetings Act, notification is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Englewood will meet on Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021 at 6 p.m. for the purpose of special council budget workshop meeting. The session will be held telephonically and virtually via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to participate in this meeting may do so by calling or clicking on the link below at 6 p.m., link on our website, or by dialing 929-205-6099. The meeting ID for this meeting is 811-0128-2530, and the passcode is 746583. Individuals calling into this number will be able to fully participate in the meeting, including providing public comment. Public comments may be submitted by 3 p.m. on the date of the meeting, either through written letter or email to meeting@cityofenglewood.org. All written comments shall be read during the public forum portion of the meeting and shall be subject to the same time limitations for public speaking. Duplicate comments shall be noted for the record and summarized. The agenda for the meeting can be found on the city's website at www.cityofenglewood.org. A separate meeting will be used if closed session is required. Formal action may or may not be taken. Council workshop meeting will follow at its regularly scheduled time. Proper notice having been given, the municipal clerk is directed to include the statement in the minutes of this meeting.
The city clerk, please conduct the roll call.
Councilman Cohen.
Here.
Councilman Hamer.
Here.
Councilwoman Marin.
Here.
Councilman Rosenzweig.
Here.
Council President Cobb.
Here.
Also present is Mayor Michael Wiles, City Manager Sonia Alves Viveros, and CFO Michael Kaufman.
Okay. Tonight's budget workshop agenda item is wrap-up discussion. So, Ms. Alves Viveros and Mr. Kaufman, would you like to start this conversation? I know you sent us a sheet over of the numbers.
I just want to make an announcement if I could first.
Yep.
I received information. I don't have all the details of it yet, of when we would be getting the money, but part of the stimulus package that the federal government is approving or approved, the Englewood will be receiving a substantial amount of money. Almost
5.4, Michael?
$5.4 million, yeah.
In stimulus money?
Yes.
So what does that mean to this budget?
Right now it means nothing, but it means we'll be, I mean, my it's 5.3 almost, but my advice is it shouldn't affect it because we're under 2% and we don't want one-time revenues, and we should have a big discussion of what we want to do with the money when we receive it. So, but I don't know when we're receiving it, but it's a substantial amount of money.
Budget.
Vacation, Mike.
I'm sure
So-
there'll be a lot of different requirements, but if it's anything similar to the CARES Act,
Mhm.
a lot of things we want to get done in terms of like infrastructure that would go in accordance with address, having to address a pandemic or any emergency situation, I think would be a huge part of spending.
Okay.
So,
We're not sure of the requirements yet, but
Right.
this is just the initial amount of money that
Well, we
is
should have,
earmarked for.
once you determine we're gonna receive it, and we do receive and we get confirmation, then we should have all our financial professionals, and we should have a special meeting to talk about how we're going to use those. That's funding.
Okay, I
Be
just
smart
wanted to.
about what we do.
Do we have any idea when the regs will be promulgated?
we
And the
don't,
what?
the
Okay.
regulations.
Oh, yeah, no idea.
So, Sonia, I don't know if everybody's read the sheet that Mr. Kaufman sent out. Because we're still under the cap, we're at 1.99. If I said that right, Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Last year was 1.97. So we've achieved some, fiscal responsibility as we're staying under the cap. So let's talk about capital projects, I guess, that will impact this, and Mr. Volsi, because we need to know what we're going to do. And I think that should be part of the wrap-up conversation.
So Franz, maybe you want to go over what we did reduce in terms of capital that affected this budget.
Yeah,
and what the priorities are.
we actually revised some of the capital budget that was initially in front of the council. Right now, it should be with draft number 7. And what we've done is actually we've spoken to some of the department heads and made some modification to some of their ask and the wants, and made the modifications to the budget. Couple of things that we've done specifically is the park maintenance that I referenced regarding maintaining our parks, that's been removed. That's getting moved over to operations and removed from the capital. That was $45,000. The police asked for a radio system upgrade. That was reduced from $250,000 to $150,000.
Well, let me ask you. So,
Mhm.
I believe when the chief was in it, he said that was something that they needed. That was a big
Yes.
need. So to reduce that means what? And exactly. And did he agree with that? And how did that work out?
Yes, we actually spoke to the chief regarding that. Everything was done with talking to the department heads, with the various department heads. So they've all agreed to these changes. Essentially, the budget that was initially put together for the radio system upgrades, there's been some modifications to the work that's being done, and therefore the reduction in the cost.
And the reduction is, again, what is it, Mr. Wilson?
It was initially $250,000. Now it's $150,000. So it's $100,000.
$100,000. So we're gonna still be getting some radio equipment. I just want to confirm.
Yes, we are. And there's some additional costs as well that's come up. For the police department, they're getting the 2 vehicles, and then there's a vehicle outfitting that's going to be $35,000 that's added to the budget. And also there's a vehicle video recorder that's $30,000 that's also added to the budget. The big ticket item for the police, which was the dispatch 911 system upgrade, that's been pushed to 2022. It was originally $680,000. It's been pushed to next year, and it's also reduced to $595,000. So all in total, there's a reduction of about $760,000 that's been reduced solely from the budget. Now, the one big thing that's been added on the budget, and I should bring this up because it is a big thing. The DPW is in the process of converting their fleet to more energy efficient, to more environmental friendly fleets. There was a discussion into converting a lot of their fleets to electrical vehicles. They are getting 2 vehicles, 2 trucks for a total of 1.3 million. Now, with that said, there's a grant for 975,000 that the city is going to receive an upfront cost from the DEP regarding those vehicles. So even though
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. The total amount of the grant is 1.3. They will give us an upfront of 75% of that. So that's that 900 and change.
That is correct. So we are getting an upfront cost for that. So the city won't have the burden to obviously shell out the 1.3 million. So that does very little in terms of impacting the capital itself. The total numbers stays the same as far as the city's expense regarding the budget itself.
So can we go through each? So I want to be clear in terms of, let's talk about equipment, vehicles. The police department is getting 2 vehicles, right?
Yes, they are.
Are anybody else getting any other types? The DPW is getting 2 vehicle electric one-arm bandits, right? But that's being paid for by a grant, right? We get 75% up front, then the rest in the back end, okay?
That is correct.
Okay, so what other department is getting vehicles or is requesting vehicles?
No, and the DPW is actually getting also a Pelican sweeper.
What is that? That Pelican's about $250,000, right?
That is correct. But that is it in terms of vehicles. Now, the one thing that the fire department is getting is the apparatus, and that was split into 2 payments. Last year, they got the first 600,000, and this year they're getting the next 600,000.
So let me just understand. That was for a ladder, right?
Yes, it was.
I think the ask was also for an engine as well. So
Yes, they did.
right.
They did.
In the history of Englewood, they never bought 2, an engine and a ladder at the same time.
No, my understanding from talking to the chief is the 1.2 million was for one of those.
Okay. So we're saying we're getting a ladder. We're not getting a ladder and an engine. That's what
No,
you're telling me.
we're just getting a ladder.
Right.
Now,
Because
what I've done as part of the capital in
Uh-huh.
2024, which is way off.
you're gonna
put some
get
money aside.
another engine.
Exactly.
We're gonna start to
We're gonna
plan
start
those
to-
things out, age those
Exactly.
items out. Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Man, after 5 years, I finally could get, that going this way. Okay. That's
Hey,
good.
it's progress. But that's it in terms
Yeah,
of vehicles.
progress. Huh?
That's it in terms of vehicles.
Let me, okay, in terms of it, let me ask something, Mr. Volsi. And this may, you may have to refresh my memory. What is the plan, or do we need to make a plan? If not, the pool by the middle school. You remember we've gone back and forth the last 2 years, whether we could get money and things of that nature, but also that pool sits so close to that creek right there that it may become a DEP issue as well.
That is
what are
correct.
we doing? What are we doing around that? I don't remember us having any in-depth conversations around that pool.
Yeah, we didn't have an in-depth conversation as to whether or not we were gonna go ahead and get it done. What is being done right now is TNM is actually looking into what can possibly be done there. And if a pool can be constructed there, what the DEP implications are in terms of permitting, what they're gonna allow us to do, et cetera. So they sort of have to finalize that, submit it to us. And once we get that information, we'll more clearly have an idea as whether or not it's worth the squeeze. It's worth going ahead and getting this done. So that's the stage that we're in right now.
Okay, so fair to say that probably makes next year's budget. That's what we're kind of saying.
That's what we're aiming for.
Okay.
Whether or not we decide to include it in next year's budget, that's the goal. Right?
That's a topic at that time, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Anything else that we should be, Sonia?
There was one more vehicle in recreation. There's a van, Franz.
Correct.
You're right. Yeah, you are absolutely right. The van was,
Was like 44,000.
45,000.
exactly,
something,
that's
right.
probably why I missed it. It's 45,000.
Yeah, because
Um,
it
But
was
I-
such a
I think-
small number.
Yeah, I think that's a good opportunity for a lot of what we're trying to accomplish, even with vaccination,
Yeah.
transportation, things like that we're thinking about. So it's
No,
a
no,
pretty,
no, that-
and
we use
senior
a-
services, yeah.
Right, no, the van is obviously a use. We use those things pretty
yeah, we do.
well. We do that. Anything else, Mr. Volsi, that's, we
No, and as I mentioned in the, in the budget hearing, the roads are live. If something comes up that warrants being on the list, I will not hesitate to swap it out. As long
Okay.
as it falls within the budget, it is fair play.
well, we will have that conversation at the council workshop tonight about roads and all that. So if you're around,
Yeah.
please make your comments then, because we're going to
Plan to
definitely
be.
have some comments. Mr. Cohen and then Judy.
Hi, just two questions on capital funds. One, I know we've talked about it, but I just wanted to confirm. I know we're doing the first phase that was in last year's budget of the Huguenot sidewalk alongside Abbastora. I know we had said that this year we'd have the second phase in there, which is such a small number that it's always in the miscellaneous thing. I just want to make sure that's accounted for in your miscellaneous, that you always have.
That's part of what we're looking for along Avatar, the sidewalk along there. That's part of what it's embedded into the miscellaneous street.
This way we have the phase two, because I know we didn't start the work yet, because I know you contracted to do it, whatever, in the spring or whatever it is. But now but from this year's and last year's collectively, now we can do the whole project together, right?
Unfortunately, it's still gonna be two part, because the first part's already been awarded. The contractor is gonna start in the spring to get it done, and this section is gonna get awarded this.
Right,
It's the same contractor. He'll just do it in one shot.
But it's out. The money's allocated, so we can at this point over the 2-year span like we had planned.
That's
Right.
correct.
Okay. And the other question is if you can just, because I know I saw obviously in all the budget documents what you had in there in terms of the different pieces of the Broad Avenue. I don't want to say not reconstruction, the safety measures and all that. If you can just quickly walk me through what the year-to-year plan is, because I saw there was money allocated for this year for, I think it was like the surveys and some of that kind of work, and then the bump outs were budgeted for like a spec out for the following year. If you can just quickly just walk through what you see as the plan of getting that done.
Yeah, Broad Avenue on the surface seems like a simple project, but it's rather complicated.
I know it's not.
We did the striping just to try and alleviate some of the speeding as much as possible, and that seemed to have calmed down some of the issues that we were having. But obviously with PSE&G out there, it's a whole other ball game. But what we plan on doing is this year to have the survey done, and I didn't want to put it for 2022 because the design is going to take some doing. We have a lot of underground utilities. The main that's being repaired there is one of them that that may cause possible conflicts, et cetera, that we really have to work through to make sure that the bump outs don't create other issues such as flooding and ponding, those types of issues. So we have to make sure we design this correctly so that we don't create some unforeseen consequences, unintended consequences as part of trying to upgrade the roadway. So we have the bulk of the work actually taking place. I have it for 2023 in terms of really having the work take place. And it's a big project.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. So this year is budgeted for the survey, which
It's
includes
just budgeted for the survey.
which includes what exactly?
The survey would include obviously someone going out there, laying out and finding out what's underground, where the pipes are going, what could possible conflicts there could be, et cetera. Because we have to put new lines in the roadway as part of our design of the roadway. So we just got to make sure that we know where everything is.
So it's survey this year, next year is doing the design.
Design work.
Obviously all the soft costs next year.
Exactly.
And then,
And the year after that is the actual construction.
And the actual construction's the year after?
Yeah, if we can somehow hit a home run, where maybe we can push the construction the next year, but I just didn't want to overpromise something and not be able to,
No, so
to
I think
deliver.
I think if we can push that construction, I think telling folks that those safety measures are going to take 3 years to do, is a little bit difficult for, I think, folks around there to swallow.
I understand that, but we really have some real issues in that road in terms of space,
Right.
that we really have to consider as to how we're going to do this.
Thank you so much, Franz.
No problem.
Judy?
I just have a question. I'm just curious. Excuse me. The radio system upgrade, when you cut it by $100,000, how was the original design changed?
Those specifics I wish I had in front of me, but I do not. The police chief absolutely has all those specifics as to what they decided they could do without, and what modifications that they actually did in terms of other projects that they've had that actually took care of some of the issues. So unfortunately, I don't have those specifics. I wish I did, but I do not.
Ms. Marin, what I'll do is I'll follow up with the chief on an updated quote, because that's usually part of the backup. So more than likely there was an updated quote to this. So I'll get that package over to everyone.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yeah, Franz, so would any of these capital projects, I know we don't have the regulations yet for the stimulus, but do you think any of these projects will fit under the umbrella of a COVID project?
The road projects, definitely not.
Technology is a huge one.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So we'll see
Services programming might be another part to this. So
Do those radios fall under?
I'm sorry.
Do those radios fall under it?
It could potentially. I mean, some people got really creative with the CARES Act money. So, but my association's on top of this. So I've been following it, and we've been getting some bills and things like that are out there. So I'll keep up with it and make sure that I'm on top of the regulations that are coming out. So
All right.
I'll let everybody know as soon as I know.
Sounds
All right.
great.
Maybe even the rec stuff with some of the work that they're doing.
Absolutely. The food.
Hamer, you have anything?
Just two questions. This is first part's for Franz and the second part for Michael Kaufman. Franz, so where do we end up as far as the overall spend for capital projects, or the requested spend for capital projects?
Right now, it's about 6.2 million.
Okay. And Michael Kaufman, where are we on debt the debt pay down? How much are we paying down on our debt?
$4.5 million.
Okay, so we're gonna broaden that debt obligation. Okay, thank you.
Well, Mr. Hamer, hold on. To that point, aren't we supposed to be getting, with all those notes, we're reducing something by 3.5 million? Mr. Kaufman? When we do the 27 million.
Well, this is
Nope.
just principal. I'm just talking about our principal payment, not
Okay.
interest.
Our goal was never to never spend more than what we pay down.
Yeah, the 4.5, my opinion, I don't know if it matters, 4.5 million would be a very low amount for all the roads and equipments and sewers and infrastructure and everything that the city needs. 4.5 would be very, very tough.
Well, we're actually in catch-up mode, right? Because we were behind in projects. We had projects that 2019. So technically, we're behind the projects for 2 years. We gotta play a little catch up here, Mr. Cohen.
Well, I mean, two things, one, I mean, just, I guess for Michael Kaufman also, I mean, I guess, I'm much more concerned with our, after listening to the presentations by our financial people, our bond counsel, our auditors, they all specifically said that our credit rating was affected due not to our debt, but to our surplus. So my bigger concern is what we're doing with our surplus, based on the expertise that we got from our own professionals. So, I'd be much more concerned with that, considering what they specifically reported to us. But second of all, I'll also, I guess, Sonia, I know there's no way to know this yet, but just to throw it out there, with the CARES money, wouldn't theoretically, if we're talking about the kind of things relating COVID and people getting together and the kind of things that you were describing, wouldn't there be a possibility that some of that money can be used towards community center issues? Theoretically, if you're talking about getting people together and organizing better and having safety things in that regard, couldn't there theoretically possibly be an angle there in that regard?
That I don't know, because I just from experience, trying to put in a generator to an existing building and infrastructure things, CARES didn't quite go that route. But again, we don't know, so I don't want to.
Right, I was trying to put the idea out there. Just when the regs are out, just to throw out an idea there,
Sonia, is there anything that you want to walk us through outside of those? Because we only talked about DPW, fire, and the police department. Is there anything in the health department that Jim Fredoker and team that we're doing for them? Or anything with the building code enforcement, any of those other departments, things that from a capital perspective that we need to talk about?
Just Sonia, if you don't, the health department.
No, go ahead.
You mentioned the health department. The health department is going to reconfigure their facilities. If you notice, there's $250,000 allocated to the facilities improvement at the health department. Last year, we had Ivino architect come in and help out Jim and his team in terms of the best layout for the limited space that they have, in terms of how can they best improve the space and have a better flow to their office. So there's going to be some improvements made there. Jim was on board with it. He really liked the designs that they came up with, and that's reflected in the capital. So they are having some improvements made to their facilities and some upgrade. I'm not sure if there's furniture costs in there. I think there's a little bit of furniture cost in there, but they're definitely getting improvements made to their facility.
Mr. Volsi, I know we've had some HVAC problems. Are we doing anything with that this year?
That is something that we are actually looking into. We're actually doing the studies for it. We're gonna have various proposals in terms of what's the best system to actually put at the safety complex. What we're doing this year is actually the roof repair itself, to actually get the roof taken care of. And next year we are going to be doing the HVAC system.
So they got a year of sweating it out with the HVAC system.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not.
Well, the roof is the issue. So once we fix the roof, that'll it's sort of a domino effect here.
Okay.
We sort of have to take care of the roof, because the leaks and other issues associated with it are really problematic.
We're not going to patch the roof then. We're going to fix the roof.
No, we're going to fix the roof. We're tearing it up. It's a new roof.
Okay. So then let me pivot to my next question. The library roof and that stuff, is any of that in here for us to do library work as well?
The library roof is not in here. It is only the roof of the police department is in here.
Okay. So we don't have any major things. We fixed I guess you fixed the elevator in the library.
Yeah.
As best you could.
Yeah, we did the repairs as much as we can. We were hoping that, the bond that they were going after would come to fruition so they can make some major improvements there. But right now, what they need to operate is up and running. We are looking at their, their HVAC system as well, and just to make sure that they don't have any issues and that they can run properly. But there's no real major proposals in terms of improvements to the library. All that was sort of like put into the sort of the bond, hoping that they would get that. But if that doesn't work out, then we'll have to
Right, and I think they're trying again, and so if it doesn't go through the second time, I think John Arthur's on this call, but he can correct me if I'm wrong, he's one of the attendees. They'll probably proceed with probably a smaller scale project, so a lot of these studies and designs are, I would assume, are associated with hopefully the huge construction,
Would you like
overall construction. Sure, yes, he's raised his hand. Maybe he can explain to us a little bit more.
You guys keep moving around. Sorry, I have to. Jeff out.
Hi, everyone. So yeah, what Sonia and Franz said is accurate. We're waiting to find out when the state library will let us reapply for the funds. They had said first quarter 2021. It's now almost the end of first quarter 2021, and there's no announcement yet. So I'm checking, multiple times a week on their website to see when the announcement comes out. If we don't get any of those funds, the library has been trying to build a little bit of a capital reserve on its own. But that's not going to pay for everything that the library needs. So, ideally we get the funds. If we don't, we've been saving for a rainy day, basically, and we hope to continue to do that and also fundraise as well. But, if we don't get those funds, we'll come back to you and basically tell you what we need, because we did not get the funds. So that's where we're at with it.
Okay. The rink, is there anything we're doing over there, Franz, this year? Because it's always been with the chiller and all these kinds of things. I just want to.
Yeah, all that's taken care of. Ken Katz gave a brief, presentation as to, some of the funding possibilities to get some of the lock rooms upgraded, that sort of thing. The one thing that we're looking at right now is the steel work, the rusting that's taking place. With the temperature changes, there's a lot of rust buildup that tend to fall on the ice. So we're trying to figure out if there's any way of slowing that up. I don't think it's a structural issue. I just think it's a lot of oxidizing that's taking place that we have to somehow contain and control. So I've reached out to a couple vendors, a couple structural engineers, just to get some feedback regarding that, to make sure that we're going about this the right way. But that's basically it with the ice. Nothing crazy, but to take care of that rust issue. And again, the locker room upgrades are going to be a big bite. And again, depending on what happens with Ken Katz's proposal to the council, we'll have to decide which way is the best way to go ahead and do some of these improvements at the rink.
Okay. Anything at the gatehouse?
Not that I'm aware of. If it's anything, it's not anything major that I'm aware of. I'll speak to Merle and see if anything comes up in terms of that she's concerned with, but I'm not aware of anything major at the gatehouse.
I remember last summer, I believe it was. Yancy, correct me. Didn't she have an air conditioning problem or something down there at one point?
Yes, she did. I thought that was resolved. I'll double check with her. Yeah, I thought it was resolved, but I'll double check with her to make sure.
So I know that you had some stuff on the budget, the baseball fields.
Yes.
They all, I guess, from what you're saying, and I took notes. They're all still in. So I guess
they're all still in. We're hoping to get all of them done this year.
Mm-hmm. So you're hoping to get them done this year, so they're playable this year, or you hope to just get them done this year?
We want to get them done this year. I don't want to say playable. That'll be a stretch, because obviously as we're getting them done, they want to be able to play on them. So I don't want to make that promise, but they are all on deck to get completed this year.
The soccer field in K Park?
The soccer field in McCade Park is not one of them, but that is something that I believe that Edward and the DPW can take care of. It's just some minor grading issues that have to take care of. There's some low spots, some pondings that can be taken care of without bringing an outside vendor in for that. It's not as bad a shape as the other fields.
So you're going to work with him on a plan to do that?
Yeah, I can work with Edward on that, yes.
Okay. That field and also the one at Denning Park, there's a soccer field over there where folks were walking, they walked a path through.
Yeah,
part of the thing.
I'm not sure what to do with that yet, except maybe put a fence so that it's harder for people to cross the field there. And if they're gonna keep doing that, then I hate to say there's little that's gonna change. They're just gonna keep it, if they keep walking that path, they're just gonna keep, tearing at the grass along that path. So we have to find a way to make people walk around.
Well, maybe we make a pathway around the field that's maybe pavers or cement or something that walks around the field. Maybe we end up turning that path into some kind of running track for people,
Yeah,
let's become creative,
The easiest thing is to just put a fence up so that they have to walk around the fence.
There was a fence up, and their trucks backed into part of a fence so they could just walk over that. So, but maybe we look to make some type of track where we could get people to exercise there as well, and they could walk right around. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe a lane, a 2-lane something or something. I don't know. Maybe
we'll come up with something. I'll try and get some people to work on it.
Yeah, well, I mean that enhances the park.
Yep.
And the people that live in that neighborhood, get to enjoy that. Are we doing anything with some of the other playgrounds and in the other parks around? I know we spend a lot of money in putting wood chips and all that kind of stuff in the various parks and all that. Do we, are we going to upgrade any other things in parks?
Part of what I'm doing is I'm going to assess all the playground areas and the upgrade may not be essentially in the equipment, but in terms of the mulch and wood chips, I kind of want to get away from that. And then my reason being is because we can look into rubber matting or something that's more ADA compliant. And by that I mean, anybody in a wheelchair or something, it's kind of tough to maneuver around the wood chips, etc.
Franz, the only thing I'd ask is that you check with our GIF, because oftentimes they will work with us to try to identify the best possible safety things we need to consider around the playground areas. So if if you're saying the rubber mats are better equipped, I just want to make sure that they're okay with that too.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good point.
If I may, Charles, Franz, there were other communities that started getting exercise equipment in their public parks, and they're covered by insurance and everything. Is there any allocation or interest in doing that for seniors and for other people, given the pandemic and a natural concern for health and everything, or is it too expensive an undertaking?
I'm going to be quite honest with you. I haven't looked into outside equipment. We did the one tour of McCade Park where we have outside stations, etc., for people to exercise. But as far as putting outside equipment, I haven't looked into that. So I couldn't give you a real answer as to whether it's expensive or not, or what the cost factor is, or whether or not it's something that we can maintain or not. I don't know the specifics right now, but it is something that I can certainly.
Franz, if you get a chance, take a look at Teaneck and whatever the large park is over there by the railroad track.
Voti Park.
Okay.
There was somebody who approached me, I think about 6 months before the pandemic. I have some of their literature. I can get it over to you if you want to look at it.
Absolutely.
And there may be grants available, or again, CARES Act funding or something.
Is this for seniors, you said, Michael? Because I remember some of it, it's like body weight, bench
Yeah.
press type stuff.
It's for everything. I don't know that we want weights or anything like that, but there's equipment, there are bars, there's also certain ergonomic chairs where people can do sit-ups or push-ups, and it's got user-friendly padding and everything. I'll
Yeah, I
get the
know.
materials to you, Franz.
They usually have a booth for that at the League of Municipalities.
But, you know, TNEC had a nice composite. I remember seeing that also, Wayne, over there. And, you know, I like it, truthfully, in the park right across from 111 West Street. It's catered more to kids, but I think that this would also be good for our seniors who walk in that area.
We'll look into it.
Thank you.
Franz, so we're taking care of these, or we had started already, take care of the basketball courts in McKay Park. We're gonna take care of the one that had the big split and somebody poured tar in
Yes,
it.
absolutely. We're gonna do the basketball courts and the tennis courts at McKay Park.
Right.
Dare
Oh,
I
you're
say
gonna-
how that happened?
Which one? The one that split? It's been, you know, after 25 or 30
Yeah.
years,
It's
it was time. It's time.
yeah,
You know, if
it's
you look at Tenafly probably resurfaces their courts probably every 5 years. They really, right here on Tenafly Road in the corner of Tenafly and Jefferson Avenue, they do it, you know, often. We don't do it often, but you know, we have to start to come together with a maintenance plan and track how long these things are out, because they all have a lifespan. So, on Broad Avenue, is that court still good? The tennis court and the basketball court?
Yeah, the courts there seem to be okay. I'll double check on them again. The last time I looked at them when I was surveying McKay Park, those courts on Broad seem to be okay. They seem to be intact and and playable. So, but I will definitely, when this project kicks off, I'll definitely take a look at them and see if it's something.
And on the other side of Garrity Field, right there, there's a little play area there that probably needs a little review as well. And the other park I think that needs some review is Artist Park.
Yes.
You know, because it's like off the beaten path. So
yeah. Yep.
so
It
everybody
sure is.
they forget about that.
I know Artist Park needs work.
Okay.
But like you said, it's sort of like hidden away and tucked away, and only the people that live in the complexes there really know about it.
Correct.
But yes, that park definitely, I know that park needs help. So.
Okay. So I think we covered most of the park. Morris Park, we just did some work in there. I know Mr. Jenkins and them did a thorough cleaning over there in Morris Park, and we have Triangle Park right there. I think that's probably got some new stuff in that. And then there's a park on Glenbrook Parkway. And then we have the Four Diamonds, which you recently completed the park, did the baseball fields there. So we talked about the pool. We talked about the pool at Tryon. What about the McKay Park pool?
The McKay Park pool, I believe Merle mentioned some work was going to get completed in the McKay Park pool. Obviously, it's not in bad a shape as the one on Tryon Avenue. But
you know what? And you could talk to Merle about this. I had asked her to look into this before. You know how they have like the little slides and things that they have at the Tryon Park? I remember we had a meeting with a bunch of kids, and they were talking about they would like to see if we could have that at McKay Park as well. So
I can't promise that. I know there's some depth requirements that
no, look into it. That's all. That's all.
So
That's
we'll
look
look into it and see if
that's
it's
look into it.
possible.
Yeah, I know there's some depth requirements. I know that. That's what I just want to confirm. You know, so we want to do that. Is there any work that we have to do, DEP work that's gonna be infrastructure for us between Forest Avenue and out there over Pet Creek?
Yeah, DEP's ongoing. I mean, they were impacted, so they slowed up on their permitting process as well. We have 2 projects that I can think of offhand that are going to require their input and permitting. The one is an old project, is that creek that runs down Lafayette and Forest, that cuts down behind the collision.
Yeah, Bergen County
Out there,
Collision.
et
Yeah.
cetera, yeah. So that channel still has to get repaired. We're still, working with DEP on getting that all straightened out so we can go out to bid and get that straightened out. The one part is going to be Dean and Forest. I don't know how much they're going to get involved because it's going to be a lot more with CSX and them. But yes, we have a couple of culverts that we have to take care of. Again, there were county culverts that they sort of turned over to us to take care of, and DEP may have some say as to their requirements, et cetera, regarding those. But
Okay.
those are essentially it regarding DEP's involvement. At some point in time, maybe not this year, definitely not this year, maybe not next year, it could be more 23, 24. I think we should look at the dredging of Overpeck at some point, especially at, along William Street, Forest Avenue, where we have this buildup in the creek that, that's been there forever, that we are going to have to clean that up at some point. So
Okay.
that's gonna be a long haul, and again, DEP's gonna.
So I think that we had.
Excuse me, Council President. Franz, before we move past the Overpeck dredging, that was going to be about 5 years ago that we were supposed to do that, and then it kept getting pushed forward and forward and forward. So rather than push that out much further, because that absolutely makes a difference, because all of that flow that comes down from the Northern Valley comes through there, and that silt gets deposited, and it just makes things worse for the people who live along Overpeck, and that experience some degree of flooding. As a matter of fact, right there at Forest is where there's a switchover, and the sanitary lines and the sewer, the storm sewer lines run sort of parallel to each other. And at some point, we need to work to figure out the engineering to fix that situation and make that a little bit smoother, particularly since we're going to be adding a lot of new units in the near future.
That is something that I can definitely start working on. Like I said, it's going to take some time and some doing. I'll reach out to our old partners and try and get that going once more. I believe we had CME that worked with us regarding getting permitting, et cetera. They're familiar with the project. They may have submitted to us an old proposal to get that done. So I'll have to dust that off and see where we are in starting that aspect all over again.
As a matter of fact, there may be some way to get BCUA involved in that, because it's not just our municipality, and those storm sewer lines and sanitary lines feed in, that's all part of their network. So maybe there's some collaboration that could be achieved, and I know it would be a benefit to more than just us.
We'll definitely explore all of those. And I'll keep you posted.
Sorry for the interruption.
No, you're fine.
And the Johnson Avenue project that's been on and on and on and on and on, we're going to get some traction with that this year to get it complete, right?
That's going to happen in the spring. That's pretty much done.
And the folks on Demarest Avenue are going to get some relief.
Yes, they
right?
are.
That road is, I was on that road today, and it is bad.
Yes, it is.
Challenge.
It is bad. So hopefully we can get that going as soon as possible.
My goal is at the end of this year for us to look like a semi-different city in terms of road work anyway.
Okay. Yeah. We'll hold you to that. You know that, right?
You're going to get a lot of complaints of all the roads being shut down, but hey.
I don't believe I don't believe no more than we're getting right now because the roads are shut down all the time. You know, that's happening, and we don't know when they're being shut down. That's the big thing.
Well,
But we'll talk about that in the next hour. That'll be the next hour. The one thing I want to say is that, you know, we've had this conversation a few times as well, and it's on the agenda for the next hour, but I'm going to put it here since we're talking about the Hudson Avenue and Knickerbocker Road intersection there, you know, and we got to have a discussion around how we're going to handle that because that's a county road, that's their equipment, but we bear the brunt when we have accidents there and things of that nature. So it's not a safe place right there, and we have to decide how we're going to handle that.
Yeah, since our last conversation, I've actually reached out to TNM and the team there regarding the best way to move ahead regarding their project, and they have reached out to the county. I am waiting for them to give me some sort of feedback and report as to, you know, what the final decision is going to be in terms of the best way to move forward to get that completed and have the county involved also in bearing some of the cost to upgrade that intersection. So as soon as I get that report, I will definitely forward it to
Hey, Franz,
body. Yes.
since you brought up the county again, Lafayette and the crosswalks there, that's the county's road. So
Yeah,
we're supposed to be working with them to get that done. And, you know, we've been 3 years on that conversation.
I'm actually, that's one of the crosswalks that's gonna be completed this spring.
Okay.
Just to paint it? That's what you're saying?
We are going to paint it. We're gonna have a push button put on there so that people have, because it's just a dangerous road. We can't just paint it, because if you just paint it, I hate to say you're you know, the likelihood of having an accident there or having an incident there is high because people aren't used to stopping. They're just going to be flying. So we have to have as much warning as possible for
better lighting.
We're going to stripe it. We're going to put, you know, push buttons. We're going to have flashing signals so that everyone knows that, hey, there's a stop sign coming your way and there's a crosswalk coming your way. So
we may want to add a couple of lights on both sides of that street. And at Herman Road there, you have a bus stop there.
Right.
And then at Genesee, you have another bus stop. And then you have another one at Rosemont. So, you know, and there is not a stop from Watts Corner. Once you come out of that light from Watts Corner all the way to Forest Avenue.
It's a straight shot.
It's a straight shot. So, you know, that's a safety issue there. So, you know, maybe we can invite one of our county representatives to one of our meetings and have a nice conversation with them. I think that might be important.
Or encourage them to try to walk across the street. Yeah, in the evening.
Well, I'll send a note to one of them over there and say, come on over and listen to what we got to say and show them across the street now. So, you know, I think that's important. Anything in the City Hall building that needs to be, that's anything you're taking any construction costs there, Sonia? She's painted the building.
Well,
she's painted the building.
My office really needs to be painted. My office really needs to be painted and stripped.
You don't paint the paneling. You got paneling.
Right.
That's
the stripping part. We have to strip the paneling.
So I'm trying to work with Franz. The next thing is to the faux, what we thought was some sort of like marble or granite material. It's not quite that. It's more like a Formica material. So we're trying to get quotes to try to get that bottom layer done. Then the other thing is that I want to move along is to the basement. That's going to take a little more time because there's some environmental things we need to look into. But the first step is March, the next week, the last 3 days, 10, 11, and 12, I believe, Yancey. Yancey is spearheading a very important project, and that's records retention and trying to clear out all our files. So all of the departments are dedicating themselves those 3 days to cleaning up. And then because in anticipation of opening up, of course, on March 15th, and then we're gonna have a shred day for all of our departments typically it would be cheaper to do that, getting everybody together. So we're doing this in steps, and the first step is clearing out the files that are down there, among other things that we need to go out through a gov deal and resell. But again, then we'll move on to the environmental issues that I'll work with Franz. So more than likely, any major improvements will be done next year. I know we have identified some accounts that we could work on getting some remediation things done through building improvements, some previous capital budgets. So, but that's where we're at now with the City Hall building.
Okay. And I think it would be good course to just make sure that whatever we have to, as we decide what's going on at Liberty School, just to keep it maintained and tight and secure as well. Think about that, what we need to do. I know we just recently replaced a few windows in there.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
And Ed Roy's doing his best to try and keep that building looking.
Keep it secure.
Yeah, keep it secure and keep it safe.
Well, I think one of the things is too is trying to fix up that parking lot over on Liberty School, France. I took a ride over there during the snowstorm when we had piles and piles of snow, and I think if we're going to be if people are going to be using that lot, I think we need to make some improvements there. So that's another consideration.
Yeah, the pile was still about 15 feet high over the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 12 feet right now. I rode by there today, so it's 12. It's 12. So it's still.
So you can dunk on it now. Okay, good.
Nah, I can't jump off the curb right now.
At the very least, if we
Franz?
try to make some room there for parking, it helps.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. I think we touched on a lot of things. I don't know if anybody else has anything else to say about whatever structures and whatever. I know we got a new structure. We do have a new playground in the Depot Square Park, which is pretty good to replace the old one that was donated by the, I believe, what's the family, Lesser family or whatever. If I'm not saying that correctly, I apologize.
Yeah, the only thing that's left in Depot is there's a couple benches we're gonna put in the spring, and we're gonna do the fencing around it.
So, but also you have a few tables. Remember, they got crushed by trees.
Yep. Those are actually replaced already.
They are?
Yeah, I believe the DPW went out there, replaced a couple of the benches that were crushed, and the table also. Because we had some of the green ones at the DPW garage. We had some spare ones just in case we needed to use them, and lo and behold.
You know what? I and maybe Sonia, I missed this. Maybe when we were talking about the grant that we got to get 2 electrical garbage trucks, right? One on Bandits, to be specific, right?
Yeah.
We need to think about a charging station, right?
It's part of the infrastructure.
That's going to be part of the infrastructure, right?
Yes.
So and not just put 2 there, probably put 4 or 6. So as we transition, we will have that on there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
One of the things I'd like to do this year I forgot to say while we were talking about vehicles, it's the trying to move in, and we touched a little bit on at one of our council meetings about moving into cleaner energy vehicles. So this year I want to take some time to identify what our fleet looks like. Let's say for not big vehicles, I'm talking about like code enforcement stuff, health department, those kinds of vehicles, and trying to go into hybrid and then eventually into electrical. But I might just go straight to electrical because the prices are pretty comparable now compared to going hybrid. So
listen, that's you and the department heads making sure that they have the power to do their job. I mean, I think the difference this year when we removed snow too is you had 2 new Packers on that were very strong that could push snow. So they, it made a difference as obviously we hired some people from the outside, but it made a difference when you had the equipment to do that. Sometimes those little pickups, they blow out, they're not in, but those big Packers, those 2 you know, they make a difference. They can do a big road and they can go a long way, and they're a lot stronger. They're built for that kind of stuff. So we just got to make sure that whatever we get, we can get multi-uses out of when we can. Just helps out, that's all.
If Franz,
Yes.
one thing I'd like you to give some consideration to, and that's adding a few more benches around town. Trash cans and bike racks. So-
Okay. The benches, I'm actually, believe it or not, working with Janet Sharma and the Access for All, the AFA.
Age friendly.
Yeah, and the AFA to try and see where in town we you know, the, I don't want to say the elderly, but the older population would like to see more benches. We may link them to, you know, where the buses are dropping people off, that sort of thing. So that's something that we're looking at. So where we could place benches around town that would have the most impact. So like I said, I'm working with the EFA and Janet trying to see where that, you know, where those benches would you know, do the most. As far as receptacle and bike racks, that is something we can also look at. I know in the times we have issues with bikes being tied around trees, poles, etc. So having bike racks around town would definitely, you know, change that look and make it definitely friendlier.
Franz, in terms of the receptacles, can you look into the big bellies, the eco-friendly, is more of a lesser maintenance, especially on DPW, trying to get those cleaned up. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's solar. They're called big bellies.
Yeah, I think I know what you're referring to.
Yeah.
They have a lot of those in New York.
Oh.
And there's less overflow rather, from a clean perspective, you know, looking clean perspective. So
The problem is, you know what, and I just saw that this past weekend, there was a overflow, and I even have the address, 38 East Palisade Avenue. The trash can there was, you know, it was Saturday early, you know, 11 o'clock Saturday morning. I mean, it was overflow, stuff on the ground, you know, so, you know, there has to be a conversation with the folks that own those apartments up there and telling them how their residents are going to have to get rid of their food or their garbage.
It's not just there. It's, you know, all up and down Palisade Avenue and a few other places too. Between the restaurants, the apartment owners, and the apartment dwellers, that those trash cans get abused. So it's a nightmare at some points. So we've got to think hard about how we address that.
Yeah. Because people blame it on DPW is not doing. No, they are doing their job. I mean, they can only come so many times. So we got to figure out a way to make this work for everybody.
From what I recall, the big bellies can have designs on them too, right? They can. Yeah, you're on mute.
sorry, what they do is they compact the garbage, and they enclose themselves. So it's not like you could just completely overfill it.
But in terms of the looks, you can also put whatever design you want on them, right? From what I remember, I thought I saw some with designs on them. So
I was just used to the one where you lift and then it closes right away and then it compacts everything.
yeah, I just want to make sure when we put them, you know, downtown, and that we have some sort of look.
Absolutely.
What's the safety on it if somebody sticks their hand in there? Because we'll get one. You know, I'm just
You're
telling
right.
you, we'll get one.
You're right.
We'll get one. We'll get one. Just want to make sure that these things are safety proof. I just don't want nobody to get hurt. That's all. I want no problems. But we definitely have to take care of the trash on Palisade Avenue. So I think that's it. So Sonia, you're going to give us something clean and something where we can, I guess, by the next meeting, put on the agenda.
Yes, we can try to introduce, so I'll work with Michael on trying to figure something out. By the end of next week, or mid next week, we'll get something clean between Wednesday and next Friday, but you certainly get it in your package for the 16th.
Anybody have any other questions around this topic? No? Cool. Yancy, I guess we can open it up to the public. And we're at, in my clock says 7:09, and we have a 7:30 start for our workshop meeting. So we have to be really fast tonight based on how many people we have. And so all those folks that want to speak, in all due respects, we're gonna have to move really swift to get this done so we can go on and pivot to our workshop meeting. And you are welcome to join us there if you have continuous questions about the budget, if you want to bring it up in the public session of that meeting as well. But we're gonna have to get through this pretty fast.
Have you opened up the public session?
Yes.
Any members of the public wish to speak? Yes, at the bottom of the screen, more button, click on that, raise hand, and you'll be put into queue to be called upon. No one's raising their hand.
Okay. We're gonna close this public session since nobody's raised their hand, and we're gonna move to, if none of the members have anything else to say, we'll move to adjourn and to start our next meeting at 7:30.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. This meeting is adjourned. Yancy, everybody should know that Yancy, I think she put everything in one place tonight for us. So all you got to do is go back to the email that you received today and just click back on that email to come in to the next meeting. All right. See you then. Thank you.